Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to HR Repair. This is Hey Ray. Hey, this evening we have the engine out of this Ford Ranger. This Ford Ranger has been here for a little while, partially due to the fact that I wasn't getting to it because the customer said it's not a big hurry. The other deal is the customer took a little bit of time to figure out what he wanted to do with this thing. He does like this thing really well, so he's going to end up putting a reman engine in this Ford Ranger. Brand new tires. And yeah, so we've got a reman engine coming for this thing. But I thought that it might be a little interesting. And actually, going back just a little bit, I know I recorded some diagnostic work that I did on this Ford Ranger, but I don't know how much I recorded, and it was long enough ago. I don't know if I can find the video to that, but I will put that in here if I can find it. So we'll insert that here if I can find it. And that is why we have a misfire on this cylinder. But basically what happened with this thing is it caught fire, and over here on the passenger side, it caught fire. The customer said that he knows, well, which I also found it, that the spark plug wires were not hooked up to the right coil. He was thinking that this coil pack would have wires starting. This would be the back cylinder, second cylinder, and the first cylinder same way over here. Well, that's not the case. It's not like that. So you got to be careful with that. But what happened was this thing was misfiring and backfiring and causing all kinds of ignition issues and running issues. And he wasn't, I mean, he said, I'm not a mechanic, and he thought he could at least do that. And that was even above his head. So we did go ahead and put the spark plugs in the correct orientation. It still wouldn't run. Because of that, I want to tear this thing apart. We're going to do it I Do Cars style, tear down. We're going to just do a little diagnostic work on this thing. Now, this thing does have a $300 core charge, so I guess, you know, if I need to eat the core charge, I will, but shouldn't have to. We'll put it back together good enough to send back as a core. But I want to know, and maybe you guys want to know, what is actually going on with this thing. So let's get this thing tore apart. Let's do a little bit of an autopsy here and see if we can figure out why we're low in compression. Contact! We're going to see if Haas wants to help me here. All right, so these are loose already. We'll go ahead and pop this valve cover off of here. I'm not too worried about getting dirt in the side of this engine, so normally we would not just take things off like this, but yeah, we're not too worried about it. So let's go ahead and bring this over here. I think I'm going to have to switch over the valve covers anyway, so we'll put those off to the side and we'll get that side off. But first, let's get the vacuum, and we'll vacuum all of this junk out of the center there. You guys want to see something funny? Watch my dog when I fire this thing up. He's already getting a little ants in his britches. I don't know what a vacuum did to him, but he has hated this ever since he was a little pup. He will attack this thing with a vengeance. I don't know. Why is it? Does your dog hate a vacuum as well, or is it just my dog? Kind of funny. Boss, don't hurt yourself. Hey, I need this. I need this. I need this. I need this. I don't. Oh man. Easy. Don't hurt yourself. Again, I have no clue what a vacuum has ever done to him, but all right, let's pull this one off. That's an 8mm, not a 10. Sizes. Back in my younger days, I could always tell by looking at it what size it was, but the longer time goes on, the harder it seems to get for me to judge the sizes that I need. Has that ever happened to anyone else, or is it just me? Okay, we don't see a whole lot over here on this side, which I wasn't really expecting to see much. That's all tight. And I think these were all tight as well. I don't think we had a problem with... that one's a little loose. Okay, T47. Let's get this broke loose. And we'll take it off with the impact, but we need to at least get them broke loose. They're filled with dirt. Well, maybe I can break them free with the impact. I figured they're tighter than that. Man, these things need to be cleaned up. All right, let's see if we can break that loose. Hopefully it doesn't create too much of a mess for us. Forgot to loosen this one back here. We might just go ahead and take these bolts completely out of here so we don't put anything in a bind. This puts a whole new meaning to sinking money into a truck. Me personally, I kind of felt like this truck wasn't worth another engine. Definitely not a reman engine, but customer kind of disagreed with me. He told me that he really likes this truck and he's willing to spend some money on it. So we need to take these rockers off because the back one's there. No, never mind. Yeah, we do. Yep. Take those rockers out. The push rods go, there's a little divot there or barrier or whatever you want to call it, where the push rod will not allow the intake to come up. Let's just set that right down here. All right, let's get this one over here. Do the same over here. Okay, so now this thing should just lift right off of here, which it does. Ooh. Ooh. I've definitely seen worse. I mean, this is actually not that terrible for 300,000 miles, to be completely honest. Set that right there. That's probably not as bad as I originally had thought. There's some buildup in here, buildup there. I mean, it definitely could have used some more oil changes, but this probably isn't that bad to think about. It's got 300,000 miles on it, so yeah, you know, we don't see much of anything major here. Let's go ahead and just look down in through here. We don't see much there, I don't think. Not yet. Okay. And obviously, if we were wanting to reuse this thing, we'd be a lot more careful about getting dirt down in there, but we're not going to be reusing this one, so I'm not just really too worried about it. Okay, let's get these head bolts off and let's pull that head off and see what we get. Okay, there might be some antifreeze still in this head, so I'm going to kind of try to negate some of that by putting that down. I should say negate some of the mess. Alright, so let's see. It's 13 millimeter. Let's get our big Ugga Dugga out here. One with all the power. Not quite, but more power. Alright, what do you think we're going to find here? Let's go ahead and pull these off of here. Alright, what do you guys think? Are we going to see valve problems? Are we going to see piston problems? Did we misdiagnose it? What do we think? Maybe I was incorrect. Was it the first cylinder or was it the what I call number 3, but maybe they call it number 2. I'm not sure. Check on that. We're going to go ahead and pull that side off so I can turn this engine over a little better, because I think I figured out what we've got going on here. But oh, that dipstick tube is completely shot. Okay, that's no problem. We'll get a new one of those if it doesn't come with the engine. All right, let's take this side off, and then I'll bring you guys over here, see what we found. Oh, we've got a problem over here as well. Let's get some lights on the subject here. All right, so first thing we notice here is there's not just something, just looking at it here. I mean, we see a little scoring on the cylinder, but I've seen that before. Here's the biggest problem that I see. And I think that we probably, I wasn't going to tear the piston out of here, but I think we probably will. But I think what actually might have caused some of the failure on this engine is if you look right here, look at that. There's no antifreeze flow through this passage here. Now, I don't know just a lot about these, but I'm pretty sure there should be some flow there. Maybe not. Maybe that's supposed to be there. I tend to think that's not the case, but I might be wrong. Let's look at this over here. Okay, maybe Yeah, that could be. Okay, so that may not be the problem after all. So yeah, this was probably due to the engine not being timed correctly. But here's what I think happened. You guys see that scoring there? So first thing we also notice, we don't see any kind of blown head gasket. As we're looking here, we don't see any kind of obvious, you know, broken fire ring, nothing like that. We do see some buildup of crud there in the passage there, which is kind of a little bit of what I thought right at first. Maybe it overheated because of that, but I don't think so. I really do think that this engine washed down the cylinder because of fuel. He did say this thing really smelled like fuel, and he had been driving it that way, thinking that it probably wouldn't hurt too bad, but I think it actually did destroy the engine. So I'm not really seeing any cracks, nothing like that where we would lose compression here. So I think I don't see a massive failure of the head here. What I do see is this massive scoring on this cylinder, and I think over here is even worse. I might be wrong. It might be this cylinder that had no compression. Number one there is not the best of shape, but it's not as bad as the second one back. But here is another failure point that I seen right here. Look at that. We did have a blown head gasket. So we've got a failure of the fire ring there. It looks like it may be even there as well. But we did have a failure. This is all cracked. And you see that black going across there? That was pushing compression into the antifreeze. This is an antifreeze passage right here. And so that's pumping compression right into the antifreeze there. So this thing had a failure of the head gasket as well as, I believe, our cylinder over there. So yeah, it's completely broke through right there. Look at that. Okay, well, now next question, do we have a failure of the head here? I don't see any cracks. I don't see any burnt valves. Although, yep. Oh, nope. I talked too quick. Can you guys see this? That crack right there? Right by the exhaust valve. There's a crack. And that leads straight over into this passage, which is where it was blowing exhaust into the cooling system as well. So we've had several failures here. So we got a blown head gasket. We've got a cracked head. So just now, okay, so a blown head gasket, we could go ahead and put a new head gasket on there. You could make the argument for that. You know, I'd always send the heads off and get them planed down. You don't ever want to put heads back on with new head gasket and not having the heads planed. But with having a cracked head, now you're into the territory of this engine has 300,000 miles on it. It has a cracked head, blown head gasket. We've got major scoring on the cylinder over here to the point I can catch my fingernails on it. And I can guarantee you if we take that piston out of the cylinder, we're going to have a melted piston. So we did make the right call on recommending a new engine for this truck. I know there was some questions on that. I mean, the customer never questioned it, but I did put up a YouTube short and there was a few questions on that, but you know, it's the internet. So I think we did do the right thing here. Actually, no, I don't think. I know we made the right choice here, recommending a new engine. I wish I had an engine stand. This may be the time for me to go buy an engine stand, because I'd like to put this thing up on an engine stand. We'll get these pistons pushed out of here. Let's get this thing up on an engine stand, and I'll get that thing completely tore down, and then we will bring you guys back then once I get this thing set up on an engine stand. All right, well, patience is a virtue, and I'm trying hard, but I'm still short on that. So I want to find out what's wrong with these pistons and cylinders. And so I just took a chain and we're just gonna do it this way. So I believe that's 8 mil is what's on the oil pan there. So let's get that oil pan off of there and we'll, yeah, we should be able to see. All right, so we've already drained the oil out of this engine while it was still in the truck, so it shouldn't have much oil in there. Pull this thing off and we should be able to pull those pistons right out of there. All right, so we've got these off, but yeah, it was getting some antifreeze into the oil. Main thing I'm worried about is I think we want to do this one and the front one on the driver's side. So what I would call number 1, 2, and definitely 3. So I want to do 3 and 2. Let's pull those 2 out of there, see what we get. These smaller gas motors definitely are a lot easier to tear apart than the John Deere diesels that I used to rebuild back in the day. Also back in the day I had a much nicer setup to do it, but that's neither here nor there. Not really expecting to see just a whole lot wrong with the bearings, and we don't. At least not the bottom part of the bearing. We do see a little minor scratching there, but nothing major. It's good. For almost 300,000 miles, I would be pretty happy with that. All right, let's see if we can... Actually, I wanted to take the second one out. Oh well, I guess we're taking that one out. Sometimes I amaze myself at my forgetfulness. This one actually looks pretty good. There's not a whole lot wrong here. We'll just kind of drop that back down in there. All right, so let's get this second one out. We know that one's scored pretty heavily. Now I do want to be kind enough to keep track of which one this goes on, because I mean, it's not like I despise my supplier. This one has some wear on it. You can see a little brass on this one here, so it's worn through the first coating there. So this one may have some, might start seeing some issues with this one. Oh, yeah, yeah, we do. That's why we don't have compression to speak of. These top 2 rings here, right here, this is our main problem, and this is exactly what we were expecting to see. This cylinder got, or this piston got really, really hot. Probably because it wasn't firing at the correct time. So all of these, well, the oil control ring's not stuck, but the first and second ring are stuck there. So basically what that does is, by that ring being stuck in, it doesn't allow it to expand and press against the sidewall here and build up compression. So we've also had a failure of our wrist pin here. Oh, this whole piston's smoked. Yeah, the whole piston's smoked because this thing got so hot that this doesn't even move freely. And now it does. I can get it to move freely now, but it didn't originally. But yeah, this is why we didn't have compression. This should look like this. We should be able to push the rings around like we do there. As you can see, there's the gap of the ring. You can't even move these things. So, yep, this engine's toast. We would have never got this one to run correctly. So, that's why we're putting a new one in, or rebuilt one, reman. This one's getting a reman engine. So, I would expect that we're going to see the same thing on the other side, just possibly not quite as bad. But why don't we go ahead, and you should never be able to do that. Why don't we go ahead and pull this one out, since we're here anyway. All right, so this is why we still had compression in this one. It's scored, but not as bad. We can still move our piston rings. This one didn't get quite as hot, but it's got some scoring going on there and a little light scoring there. So this one would have probably still built compression. Wouldn't have been good, or as good, but it would have built compression. So this was the main failure on this one. That, along with the cracked heads, not worth fixing. So I guess what I'm going to do, I'm going to kind of put this back together again, clean up my hands, and we'll reassemble this engine so that we can get this back as a core, and we should still be able to get credit for this one. So they probably won't give us full credit back because it does have a cracked head. Now, as far as the block is concerned, I don't see any cracks in there, but I'm sure, I don't know what they'll find, so they'll let me know. But I mean, even then, the core is only $300, so it's not like it's that expensive. But hopefully you found that interesting. I always enjoy knowing exactly what's wrong with it. So this one here we could have fixed. We could rebuild it ourselves, but for the price that I can get a reman one for, and then I don't have to stand behind a 3-year, 100,000-mile warranty. Somebody else does that. I've got the new one here already, so yeah, we're going to go with a rebuilt one. So hopefully this teardown and diagnosis was interesting for you and helpful. That's why it's very important to get your spark plug wires in the correct order, in the correct place. If it's misfiring, not only can you damage your catalytic converters, which I'm not sure this one still has any, but you can damage your catalytic converters. You can also melt down a piston like this one here did. So be very cautious. Misfires are not always a thing to, or are never really a thing to ignore. Yeah, that's all I've got. I guess until the next time, I'll talk to you all later. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you. Y'all have a great day. Bye. Also, I almost forgot. I also wanted to show this. Look at down in here. The amount of goo that's down in the bottom there. That's real thick goo, not oil. Call that goo. Okay.